Hello, I'm Jazz Rose, CEO at JNC Education and author of Teaching Primary PE. You may have seen my last video on 3 techniques that drive effective learning. And I thought I'd do a new video with 3 more advanced techniques on how to efficiently and effectively drive effective teaching and learning in the modern day primary school classroom. The 3 techniques that I'm going to talk about today are count me in, vocabulary stretch, and pose, pause, pounce, bounce. You might have heard of those techniques before, or you might be thinking, what are those? Let me explain. Count me in is a really efficient and effective technique to create an urgency in the learning environment of your classroom. So you've all seen or used that technique where you count children down after an activity to refocus their energy. Count me in works exactly the same, but in reverse, where you count the children in before they start an activity. Why is this important, you might be thinking? Well, it creates a sense of urgency and pace at which the pupils get the tasks done. It also avoids any confusion about pupils, some starting a little bit early, some starting a little bit after, and not being quite sure, making sure that you then have to remind the children of the expectation, which can slow down the learning process. When you do 3, 2, 1, start, everybody starts at the same time. They see the countdown on the board, they know how much time they've got left, they see all their peers working straight away, and it creates that attention, that urgency to the learning. Count me in is a really efficient technique. The second technique is about vocabulary stretch. We've all seen the routines and the classrooms where children give some half-right answers. Excellent teachers do not accept half-right answers. They really stretch the pupils' vocabulary and understanding because they really want to drive them forward and help them to be the most efficient and effective learners possible. So what do I mean by that? You know, you might be a music teacher and you might ask the child, what is a ostinato, for example? And the child might say, well, it's a pattern. And average teachers, they go, yeah, it's a pattern, it's a rhythmic pattern. And then the teacher gives the rest of the answer. What excellent teachers do is they get the children to do the real labor-intensive cognitive thinking and the work. So they really help the child to stretch their answer by probing further. What type of pattern is it? It's a rhythmic pattern. It's a rhythmic pattern that repeats, and so on and so on. They allow them to stretch the answer using the key words and the key vocabulary that has been set perhaps at the beginning of the lesson or the beginning of the term or the midterm unit or the plan. The third technique is about pose, pause, pounce, bounce. Sounds a bit odd, sounds a bit funny. Perhaps you're using it, perhaps not using the same language. You pose the question, you pause, you pounce the question onto a pupil through random selection, not through children with their hands up. And then you think about bouncing it to another pupil who might be able to give support to that original pupil who answered the question. So you pose the question, you pause. You allow them thinking time, let them do the cognitive work, allow them the time to come up with the deepest and most reflective answer possible. And then you randomly select a pupil to answer the question. The importance of random selection is that it allows and ensures, or helps to ensure, that all the pupils are thinking about the question at hand. It's not just the same old children with their hand up that are always answering the questions. They know that they can be selected at any time, so they're all thinking about it. And if they don't know the answer, at least they're giving it a go. And then you can bounce it, so the child gives the answer, and then you can bounce it to somebody else. The important thing about this is asking critical questions like, you might say, okay, what is 4 times 4, for example? The child might say 16. Brilliant, right answer. Average teachers move straight on. Excellent teachers, they bounce it. They check for understanding across the classroom. Okay, so who agrees with Tom? 1 for yes, 2 for no. You can quickly then scan across the classroom and see who knows, who understands the answer, and who doesn't. And then you could ask the children to defend their answer. Tom, 16. I'm not going to tell you if it's right or wrong, but defend your answer. Tell me how you know. And then you really start to check for deeper understanding, and do they actually just know the answer to the question, or do they actually know the journey of how they got there? Because that's where the real learning process intensifies. So the 3 techniques that we talk about today are pose, pause, pounce, bounce, which is a really effective questioning technique to ensure that all the pupils are engaged, they're all thinking about the question at hand. and that you can quickly scan, check for understanding, and you can quickly get answers from different pupils throughout the classroom. We also spoke about vocabulary stretch, which is utilizing your keywords and making sure that the children come out with the keywords that you want, and that really helps to stretch their understanding. It doesn't matter if they're doing a literacy lesson or a geography lesson, music lesson, drama lesson, whatever lesson it might be, really stretch their vocabulary so that they deepen their understanding. And the third technique that we were talking about was count me in, which helps to create that buzz, that urgency, that self-competitive drive to really optimize the pace of learning and optimize the progress that every child makes in your lesson. I hope you found that video useful. Do subscribe to the page. Feel free to share the content if you think that anybody else would find it beneficial. My Instagram account is JazzRose JNC Education. LinkedIn is JazzRose. Do add me, follow me, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye for now.